Hey everyone, we'll start in a few minutes. There's usually a sign-up sheet over by the door. If anyone missed that and they'd like to speak, go over there and put your name down. We're waiting on one more commissioner and for some staff. Staff, are you ready? Okay. I'd like to call to order the June 3rd, 2024 Richland County
Recording in
Planning
progress.
Commission meeting. Staff, please confirm the following. In accordance with the Freedom of Information Act, a copy of the agenda was sent to the news media persons requesting a notification and posted on the bulletin board located in the County Administration Building. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Staff, can you please take attendance for today's meeting?
All right, attendance for the Monday, June 3rd, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Bianchi,
Here.
Frierson, Johnson,
Here.
Duffy,
Here.
Metz,
Here.
Durant,
Here.
Taylor, Search,
Here.
Grady. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you, staff. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the June 3rd, 2024 Richland County Planning Commission meeting. As planning commissioners, we are concerned residents of Richland County who volunteer our time to thoroughly review and make recommendations to County Council. Our recommendations are to approve or deny zoning map amendment requests. Per Title VI, Chapter 29 of the SC Code of Laws, Planning Commission may also prepare and revise plans and programs for the development or redevelopment of unincorporated portions of the county. The county's land development code rewrite process conducted last year is an example of this. Once again, we are recommending body to County Council, and they will conduct their own public hearing and take official votes to approve or deny map amendments and text amendments on a future date to be published by the county. Council typically holds zoning public hearings on the fourth Tuesday of the month. Please check the county's website for updated agendas, dates, and times. Please take note of the following guidelines for today's meeting. Please turn off or silence any cell phones. Audience members may quietly come and go as needed. Applicants are allowed up to 2 minutes to make statements. Citizens signed up to speak are also allowed 2 minutes each. Redundant comments should be minimized. Please only address remarks to the commission and do not expect the commission to respond to questions from the speaker in a back and forth style. That is not the purpose of this meeting. Please no audience speaker exchanges. No audience demonstrations or other disruptions to the meeting are permitted, nor are comments from anyone other than the speaker at the podium. Please remember the meeting is being recorded, so speak into the microphone and give your name and address. Abusive language is inappropriate and will not be tolerated. Please don't voice displeasure or frustration at a recommendation while the Planning Commission is still conducting business. If you have any questions or concerns, you may contact Richland County Planning Department staff. This moves us on to item number 3 on our agenda, which is additions and deletions. Are there any motions for additions or deletions to the agenda today, commissioners? Hearing none, we can move on. This is when we normally have minutes to approve from prior meetings, but we don't have that on our agenda today, so we'll get that next month. This moves us on to item number 4, the consent agenda. The consent agenda is an action item that allows the commission to approve road names and map amendment requests where the staff recommends approval and either no one from the public has signed up to speak against the amendment or no member of the commission is in need of further discussions on the request. Commissioner Grady, do we have any cases on our agenda today where no one has signed up to speak?
We do not.
Okay. How about the 4th one? The applicant is here, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, looking at our consent agenda today, we do not have road names. So consent agenda is 4B. Staff has a recommendation of approval for item 3. And we just have the applicant here.
That is correct.
Okay. So I'm guessing you'd like that approved. Can you raise your hand? Yep, okay. So we're going to go ahead. The chair makes a motion for the consent agenda to remove items 1, 2, and 4. Just keep 3 on there, thus approving case number 24-015. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Grady. Staff, can you please take a vote for the consent agenda?
All right, now we have a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, which would be for case 4B3, which is case 24-015MA, Megan Newbold, GC to MU3 at 3003 Two Notch Road, tax map R11613-0202, which was for approval. Those in favor? Yonke?
Aye.
Johnson? Duffy?
Aye.
Metz? Durant?
Aye.
Sirks?
Aye.
Grady?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes.
Thank you, staff. We'll now look at item 4B, our map amendments, case number 1. I'll turn it over to staff for more information.
Yes, sir. No, so Mr. Chair,
Yes?
I'm not sure if you mentioned or not, but both podiums are, the mics are live, so they can.
Yes, please come down to either podium today. Thank you.
All right, the first item is case 24-011MA. The applicant is Denise Lawson, The location is 1700 Dutch Fork Road. The applicant is requesting to rezone 0.69 acres from RT to general commercial GC. Staff recommends disapproval of this request with the understanding that it would not be consistent with the objectives outlined in the comprehensive plan. As the comprehensive plan recommends commercial development within neighborhood activity centers and within contextually appropriate distances from the intersection of a primary arterial. The subject parcel is not located at a traffic junction and is not within a contextually appropriate distance of an intersection or neighborhood activity center. Also, the plan discourages strip commercial development or fragmented leapfrog development patterns along corridors. Again, for these reasons, staff recommends disapproval. However, we would like to point out that the reference of the comprehensive plan that the map should not result in strip commercial or fragmented leapfrog development may be negated due to the approvals of the previous map amendment approvals, which you can find under zoning history of the area. The proposed district would be consistent with the existing zoning and uses in the immediate area. So again, disapproval is based strictly on the comprehensive plan, but we wanted to point out that the existing zoning and uses in the area, actually, the request may be in compliance with those, or compatible with those.
Thank you, staff. Commissioners, do we have any questions for staff? Okay. Welcome, Ms. Frierson. I'm not sure. Also, our first case was approved. I see a puzzled face. So that means it'll go to county council's recommendation of approval, and they'll have that at their zoning meeting at the end of the month. You got a date on that one, Mr. Price?
It'll be the 25th of
25th
June.
of June.
7 p.m.
All right, thank you. Cool. Stay or take off if you'd like.
I'm actually this one.
Okay.
I'm here for my wife, Denise Lawson, who filled out the paperwork.
Okay. Okay, we'll have you come down in a minute. Go ahead, Commissioner Grady.
Yes, the only person signed up to speak on 23-011 MA is Matt Lawson, speaking on behalf of the applicant.
Okay. Come on down. You'll have 2 minutes. Please give your name and address.
My name's Matt Lawson. The address of the property is 1710 Dutch Fork Road, Irmo. I have been the owner of the property, well, me and my wife have been the owner of the property since I had all these notes in my phone and it went dead. So we owned ASAP Mechanical, which is a heating and air company, and we used it for warehouse space. It was leased to Chariot Ironworks, who did production of gates and fence. Before I owned it, it was another heating and air company that owned it. Before they owned it, it was Carter Canvas, so they did production of like exterior roofing. So it's been used for commercial. In fact, the building is still considered commercial. The property is considered residential since the rezoning. It was RU, and it was accepted as a commercial property for, well, since 78, I assume, when it was built. There is commercial property that adjoins it. There's another property that's an actual garage. I talked to the owner of that property that's right next door, and it's actually like a 10-bay automotive shop. So I just feel like it should have gone to commercial instead of residential when it was rezoned. It's pretty much all I got. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming out. Hey, commissioners, is there anyone else to speak?
No, there is not.
Okay, commissioners, is on the floor for discussion. And any other questions for staff?
A question for Mr. Price.
Commissioner Duffy.
Gio, could you speak a little bit to there's another parcel on the south side of Gates Road, which was rezoned from RU to GC. There's obviously like a precedent for GC in that general area. I was wondering, do you have any history on that case, and are a lot of adjacent properties GC?
Yes, sir. Look, it's on page 1 of your, where, yeah, that property was zoned, again, from rural to general commercial. I think it's currently being used as a boat storage, on that site. It's not really much more from a history standpoint, but it was rezoned, as you can see, in 2005.
Thank you.
Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Grady.
Question for staff. So as the applicant indicated, this is a property that has been operating as in one commercial mode or another for some time. So I guess the question that I have is, when we built the new zoning map in that time between my two stints on this commission, What was the process for determining how these properties should be zoned, and why was it decided that this parcel should be zoned as RT when it had commercial structures on the property?
Well, as you remembered on your first stint, as we like to say, I think one of the things that was proposed by staff was to be a little more proactive as far as creating new zoning maps and to take a look at certain uses such as this and to apply appropriate zoning. However, when it was brought back to the planning commission, the recommendation was just go with an equivalency. So this went from rural, and because of the acreage of the parcel, the equivalency was deemed to be RT. So it maintained, the lot maintained a non-commercial zoning designation. Now, as far as the uses that were there, of course, they would have been deemed to be non-conforming, also grandfathered in, as a lot of people know. But however, once there's a change in use, that's one of the, criteria for losing your non-conforming status. So even if it was used previously for air conditioning work or a mechanic shop or something along those ways, the change in use also would have required a rezoning to establish that, the new use.
Thank you.
Commissioner Grady, this is still on the floor for discussion or open for any motions. Staff question. So the map that we have printed out in our agenda zoning is different from the map. No, it's not. We're looking at. Yeah, we're looking at across the street where that's all GC red. Okay. Never mind, staff.
Here.
Yes, Commissioner Grady.
I would like to make a motion to advance case 24-011MA to County Council with a recommendation of approval. The reasons being that a rezoning to commercial would be in keeping with the general character of the area surrounding the parcel in question.
Thank you, Commissioner Grady. Do we have a second?
Second.
I hear a second from Commissioner Duffy. All right. With that, we can take a vote. Staff, please. Motion for approval.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of case 24-011, MA. Those in favor of the motion for approval, Grady,
Aye.
Sirks,
Aye.
Durant,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Duffy,
Aye.
Johnson, Frierson,
Aye.
Yonke.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you, staff. That's recommendation of approval. They'll go to County Council for their meeting on June 25th. Right. Good. Give him a second to adjust the chair.
I didn't want to, give you all too much entertainment by falling flat on the ground.
We'll continue to move on. Number 4, the B, the map amendments. Number 2, case number 24-014.
Okay.
I'll flip it back over to staff.
All right, thank you. Again, next item is case 24-014 MA. The applicant is Eric Norton, and the applicant is requesting to rezone 2.6 acres from RT, residential transition, to MU1, it's mixed use. The staff recommends disapproval of this request. And again, very similar to the previous case that you had. Comprehensive plan does not support the requested zoning along this area. Again, it's not within a contextually appropriate distance for the intersection of a primary arterial. And it's also not located at a traffic junction or a neighborhood activity center. And of course, the plan does, of course, discourage strip commercial development or fragmented leapfrog development along corridors. Again, so for that reason, staff recommends disapproval. But again, there's a however found within the conclusion of this. And this is mainly looking at the history along this stretch of parcels that have previously been rezoned from what was formerly the rural zoning designation to a neighborhood commercial, which is now, based on the equivalency, MU1. So the request would be compatible with the existing zoning along Dutch Fork Road. As you can see, Mr. DeLege is kind of going over with his, with the arrow. But staff's recommendation is for disapproval just solely based on the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, staff. Are there any questions, commissioners, for staff? Commissioner Johnson?
I was just gonna ask, would you just repeat the last sentence you made about yes, that parcel right there, just to make sure I heard that correctly?
Yeah, what we're saying is, I can't remember what I said, I can't remember what I did a few minutes ago, but,
Well, the way that I was
Yes.
looking at it, I was just making sure that,
no, I can
My-
explain.
okay.
I was gonna say, what I was saying was that, again, staff's recommendations were for disapproval, and staff's recommendations always based on whether this is in compliance with the guidelines and recommendations of the comprehensive plan. However, we wanted to point out that there were a number of parcels that are adjacent to and along this particular section of Dutch Fork Road that were rezoned. And so just wanted to point out that that could negate some of the, the recommendations of the comprehensive plan if you look at it. But, our recommendations, again, are based on comp plan, but it would be compatible in character with the previous zonings that have taken place east of the site.
Commissioner Grady?
Yes, question for staff, and this might be a multi-parter depending on the answer. Okay, so I'm reading the text of staff's recommendation, and in here we have a section that says the subject parcel is not located at a traffic junction, whereas on the map it appears to be. Is that an incomplete statement, or if staff could explain why this intersection doesn't count as a traffic junction?
Yes. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Gray. There's a tap on our part. I believe there's a light at that intersection of Three Dog Road and Dutch Fork Road, so that part should be taken out. However, even with the removal of that particular portion of that sentence, it still doesn't change the recommendations that staff has for disapproval based on the comprehensive plan.
And so that is it based on the fact that Dutch Fork Road is classified apparently as a minor arterial? Is that why, or is there another reason?
It has to do with the fact that it's not within it. What is it zone it? Yeah, that one is zone neighborhood low density. So those it's zone neighborhood low density, and also it is not within a neighborhood activity center. And so really, that's the one. It's not within the neighborhood activity center is where the plan recommends commercial development to take place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grady. Any other questions for staff? Okay, Commissioner Grady, do we have anyone sign up to speak?
We do. We have 3 people who have signed up to speak. The first is the applicant, Eric Norton.
Please state your name and address, and you have 2 minutes. Thanks.
Hi, yes. My name is Eric Norton. I'm an attorney at Harold Martin and Peace at 135 Columbia Avenue in Chapin, South Carolina, representing the applicant. I've been working with Mr. Gardner for the last year or so, trying to find an appropriate use. I agree with Mr. Price's comments. It's very similar to the last situation. Just so the commissioners have all the sort of backstory here, this is the same parcel that was in front of you last year. For some of you that may remember, there was a sale contract pending on it last year for a gas station. So it was going to be, the request then was to have it zoned general commercial. At the time, guidance from staff and really comments from all the way up to county council was that it was more consistent with neighborhood commercial, which of course is consistent with MU1 now. But as Mr. Price pointed out, and the remapping process, because it was an equivalency process, it ended up as an RT. This actually gives you an opportunity, I think, to fix one of the problems as opposed to create one, because it's already in a leapfrog situation. It literally goes MU, MU, RT, GC, cemetery, back to GC again. And so this would actually allow you to correct a leapfrog situation between Loman Home Road and Three Dog Road, where you can simply put in another MU1 and it would get rid of that leapfrog situation. Also think it's important to point out that it is consistent with the uses that are just next to it, just adjacent to it along Dutch Fork Road, which are these flex space buildings. There are 8 commercial flex space buildings on one adjacent property, then a gas station that's being built right next to it. Yes, we know the irony. And then there is my client's property. Then there's a vacant GC property, the cemetery, an auto repair shop, and then a Mexican restaurant all along the way. So we would
Final
just,
thoughts for me. That's your 2 minutes.
yes,
So,
thank you. So final thought is that the secondary land uses for neighborhood low density are the same ones that are permitted under MU1. And so this property really should be designated as an MU1 under the remapping process, just as the last parcel was. So we'd appreciate it if you'd approve it. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Also speaking in favor of the application is Bar Gardner.
My name's Bar Gardner. I live on Ellett Road, 1220 Ellett Road, Chapin. I bought this property approximately 20 years ago with the hope that at some point it would have some value as a commercial property. 2 years ago, we got the opportunity to market the property to a national convenience store chain. They spent $50,000 on engineering with the South Carolina Highway Department, agreeing to put in an extra turn lane to pay for it to make the intersection much better. And obviously, we ended up not getting approval. And I respectfully request recommendation for the zoning change.
Thank you.
All right, and we have one speaker signed up in opposition, Kim Murphy.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank you so much for your diligent and time-consuming efforts, which
Ms.
very...
Murphy, please state your name and
Oh, I
address.
should know that.
You should.
Kim Murphy, 154 Old Laurel Lane in Chapin. So I want to thank you for your diligent efforts, which very few people know about to successfully implement the new land development code. I believe we will have better development when it occurs because of your hard work. And the new code will still allow county council to weigh in on whether development is appropriate or whether the infrastructure is suitable for the burdens that can come with development. Taking away council's ability to do that as originally proposed would have led to the uncontrolled growth that is occurring in Lexington County. Although Lexington County has now implemented better development standards, but still not as good as Richland's, over hundreds of thousands of homes not yet constructed made it into the pipeline and is having a tremendous impact on the community just up the road from this proposed rezoning. This small intersection that runs parallel to the railroad track is essentially the entrance to the elementary school and cannot handle the additional traffic and congestion that would occur due to the construction of multifamily units or other development allowed in the proposed MU1 zoning. Staff said there are no road improvements projected, yet traffic is continuing to grow from the unfettered development up the road in Chapin. Please don't approve this rezoning as recommended by the comprehensive plan and as it was denied last year by this commission and county council. Thank you. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Those are all the people we have signed up to speak.
Thank you, Commissioner Grady. This is now open on the floor for discussion. Discussion or emotions as well?
Got a
Commissioner
question for
Metz.
staff. Staff, can you just talk about last year and what went down, just refresh our memory, I guess, on that?
Are you referring to the recommendations of the planning commission at the last meeting?
Yes, sir.
Just give me one moment. I'll pull that for you.
Good question, Commissioner Metz. I was thinking the same thing.
At the July 10th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, the recommendation was for disapproval of course, staff's recommendation was for disapproval also, being consistent with the comp plan. But the recommendation of the Planning Commission was for disapproval by a 3-2 vote.
This was GC they're
Yes.
requesting?
That was actually for RC.
RC. So we have a clean slate here today because that was a small quorum and a split vote. So let's have a good discussion.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Johnson.
just to be clear, under the new code adopted, am I to understand that we have a contiguous parcel that has the same zoning of what is being requested?
That is correct.
Any motions, commissioners?
Mr. Chair, one question before
Yes.
you get to a motion.
Commissioner Durant.
Ms. Price, that contiguous plot of land to the immediate east of the parcel at issue, it is zoned MU1 also, but if I'm reading the maps correctly, nothing has been developed on that property, correct?
Just looking at it, I would agree that it hasn't at this time. I think the only development has taken place on the MU1 parcel further east from the subject site. So it does seem to be undeveloped, yes.
Here,
Yes, Commissioner Grady.
I would like to make a motion to advance case 24-014 MA to County Council with a recommendation of approval. The
Second.
The rationale being that the requested zoning amendment would result in development that is contextually appropriate for the surrounding area.
Thank you, Commissioner Grady. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Durant for approval off of that condition that he stated. Staff, could you please take a vote?
Motion. Sorry. Start it over. So we have a motion for the approval of case 24-014 MA. A yes vote would be in favor of the motion for approval. Those in favor, Grady,
Aye.
Search,
Aye.
Durant,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Duffy,
Nay.
Johnson. Hills a nay. Okay, thank you. Frierson,
Aye.
Yonke.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes.
Thank you, staff. This goes as a recommendation to County Council as approval. They will have their meeting on June 25th. You're now moving on to 4B, map amendments, case number 24-016.
All right,
I'll
next
flip it
item.
back to staff.
All right, again, next item, as you stated, is case 24-016 MA. The applicant is Philip Bradley. The applicant is requesting to rezone 21.24 acres along Raven Road from R3, which is R3, to R5. So staff recommends, again, disapproval of this request as we feel is not consistent with the objectives of the neighborhood medium-density zoning district land use designation of the comprehensive plan. For this one, multifamily housing is recommended near activity centers and within priority investment areas with access to roads with adequate capacity and multimodal transportation options. The proposed request does not meet the location recommendations of the neighborhood medium-density designation. So again, for these reasons, staff recommends disapproval of this request. Just want to kind of point out, Tommy, can you drop the menu, that menu board right there? Yes. That, of us looking at this parcel is just outside of the neighborhood corridor, to get an economic corridor. And also, for the priority investment area. So it's just outside of it. And again, we've just kind of a circled area, so it doesn't take into account all parcels. But again, just wanted to note that this is just outside of the priority investment area. And had it, been a little further over, staff's recommendation would have been for approval. However, in this case, because it is not staff's recommendation to be consistent with the recommendations and guidelines of the comprehensive plan, is for disapproval.
Staff, and it's to note that it's a portion of, because what we have in our packet is highlighted the eastern portion of it, right?
Yes, sir. On page 36, it should outline exactly which portion is, actually on page 35 and 36, would show you exactly which portion is before you for rezoning.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? No? Okay. Commissioner Grady, anyone signed up to speak?
The only speaker signed up is representative of the applicant, Phil Bradley.
Good evening. My name is Phil Bradley with Haven Communities. As Mr. Price stated, we're requesting a rezone from R3 to R5. And the idea behind this is, as you can see in our sketch plan, looks like a big piece of land, right? But as you can see, the challenges that we have with all the wetlands, going for a single-family detached just didn't make sense. That's why we're requesting for the R5 zoning, so that we can get townhomes, be fee simple townhomes, one-car garages, HOA maintained, so no maintenance for the actual buyers of the building. We are discussing internally a possibility of one of these pods being age targeted for empty nesters to come in, as well as workforce housing. We all know 7,000 plus jobs coming to Richland County here in the next couple of years. Plus, it's close to the universities, hospital system for nurses, doctors, very large military presence in this market as well. So we're trying to target people who can come in, first-time home buyers possibly. So that's why we're going for the R5 rezone. We do have a conceptual renderings of what the townhomes conceptually may look like. Like I said, HOA controlled community, so HOA will maintain the yards, irrigation, buildings, structures, so forth and so on. I have provided you guys with current DOT recommendations on road improvements. They would be done by us as well as the other developer in the area. So we had this put together to kind of show both projects working together since they are across the street from each other. I'm obviously here for any questions y'all may have for me. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming up. Perfect 2 minutes. Now on the floor for discussion. I don't see anyone else signed up to speak. Was anyone else here that needed to speak? Nope. Okay. Okay, on the floor for discussion, commissioners, and questions for staff too. I have a question for staff. Can we open up the wetlands? You already knew I was going to ask. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just one mention about the wetlands layer. This is the National Wetlands Inventory, so it is a best guess estimate based upon aerial photography of where wetlands may be present. So typically, if there are additional wetlands that's identified as part of the site planning process, so this may or may not accurately reflect the amount of wetlands that are on site.
Do we turn on the contour lines? Does this reflect his site plan? I understand, this is my 5th year on Planning Commission, that we look at the zoning. We don't, that sketch plan can go away. But if that is what the land looks like, that's the relationship I'm looking for. Okay.
Chair, what are contour lines? I see the wavy lines, but what does that actually mean?
Elevations, which could lead to where wetlands are, which way the water flows. I'm a GIS guy by day.
I know.
I have no direction on this one. I just want to say I appreciate where we come from the old code to the new code and that we are able to discuss this right now. This is what I was hoping the process would include, an R3 to an R5. And before the developments just like sneakily come in, they would come in before us. And the way that the applicant explains it as this is why we need a denser area, it helps me with more understanding just in general. And understanding the land cover. But that's enough out of me. Commissioners, please talk.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Grady.
So obviously we heard from the applicant, so this is a question for staff. And we heard the interchange a moment ago. So what would be the process that the county would have for determining what constitutes a wetland and more broadly, what land could or could not be built upon. If you kind of speak to what that looks like, that would be appreciated.
That's you.
So, typically, a wetland scientist would go out. They would look at a variety of different factors as far as determining whether or not a wetland is present. Some of which can be combinations of certain species of vegetation, doing soil samples, looking to see if there's water present on site. It could be a wetland, but doesn't necessarily have to have water present throughout the year. It could be portions of the year, depending on the soil type. But that's typically done as part of their site plan submittal. So potentially in the due diligence, they might have gone out and as kind of that figuring out whether or not what's buildable, what are their boundaries, have gone in and done that study, which is why they mention it. But it would not be reflective on our maps until later on when they would submit and show basically that data to kind of support that there is or is not wetlands present on the property. That would also be shown on their site plans because we do require a buffer from any kind of identified wetlands.
Yes, thanks for the explanation, staff. Commissioners, further discussion or a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just,
Yes, staff?
I know you touched on this, but just for the records, I want to make sure that what you have before you is actually a rezoning request. Appreciate the applicant giving you, presenting to you a model of what it is they're proposing to place on the site, but that's really not relevant at this point for the request. Some people may be looking at this and, wondering what's going to happen there, but I just want to make sure that this is strictly about the rezoning to another zoning designation, in this case R5, and all of the permitted uses that potentially could go on that site.
Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
I could walk staff's comments a little bit further. And this is not taking a position on it, it's just pointing out an observation. Looking at the existing zoning map, there's higher level of density to the left, the west of the site, the green. And you have the R3, so arguably the same logic we just used in the previous case that had contiguous zoning, that once we rezone that, there's a portion of that site, then there's no real legal basis to not rezone the rest of that site. So now you're gonna have all of that that could really be R5. I need to, that.
Commissioner Johnson, I see on the map you're pointing at is R6 to the southwest of it.
That's right, well,
So then
Yeah,
the
that's what
parcel
I'm-
itself is R3. and then to
right,
the
so I'm
east is
saying,
R3.
so you have more, higher density to that side where he's pointing, as opposed to all of the yellow to the east. So I'm just saying, it's just gonna make it, you're just gonna fill in and make it to where, I guess we could ask, I mean, again, the legal basis isn't what's gonna be used on the site, but I'm just pointing out that eventually that remaining parcel is gonna end up being zoned virtually the same. Because it's gonna be surrounded at that point.
Correct. If we approve this to
If we approve that,
R5,
yes.
then it would be surrounded by R3, right? And almost creating a leapfrog, right? Point, Commissioner Johnson. Further discussion? How's to my left? How are you guys doing?
Good.
Comments? Staff question, could it be appropriate to ask the applicant why we're not rezoning the entire parcel?
Sure.
Come on down, sir.
I actually, I think I could have answered that, but I figured since Mr. Bradley's here, I'll let him go ahead and,
Well, essentially, guys, we're already engineering the other side under R3. It's actually in current engineering as we speak. So, and for us to get the other side, like I said, with all the wetlands, the townhome in the R5 is why we're, so I mean, I understand and appreciate your concern on that. Makes sense, that train of thought, but we're already currently engineering the other side of the property to be single-family detached.
R3, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
What would is there such an R as thing as R4, and what would that look like?
There is an R4. Mr. Price can probably get a little more detailed on what that exactly looks like.
question.
Staff would be permitted in R4, but that's not what's in front of us today. What's in front of us is R3 to R5, so that's what we look
Well,
at.
the reason I was asking, we heard about the R6.
Commissioner Frierson.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The only reason I was asking, we heard about R6 and what might happen, R3 and what is already being done. And so I was just wondering about R4 and how that would look, because I'm just trying to figure out, that's the only reason I was asking.
So primarily, the R2, the R3, and the R4 zoning designations have replaced what was our RLD, RSLD, MD, and HD. And one of the big differences between our previous land development code and this one is under the I guess you would call them the higher density designations, which in this case would be R5 and R6, that single-family detached is not permitted in those zoning designations. Under our previous code, you could do single-family, multifamily, of course, two-family also in the higher density zoning designations. But under the new code, it stops at R4 for single-family detached, and anything R5 and R6 would be multiple units, so it'd be two-family, three-family, quadruplexes, multifamily.
Thank you.
Thank you both. So R5 is the minimum you could be to have this type of development. Townhome, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, further discussion or a motion from anyone? Oh, you want to, Commissioner Grady?
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Commissioner Grady.
Yes, I would like to recommend that we advance case 24-016MA to County Council with a recommendation for approval. The rationale being that while the precise site is indicated as neighborhood medium density on the future land use map, it is in very close proximity to both a priority investment area as well as a mixed-use corridor. And that given the presence of an R6 zoning in the immediate neighborhood, that in the, not adjacent to the portion that's being rezoned, but adjacent to the parcel that is being rezoned, I would argue that this is contextually appropriate to rezone to R5.
Thank you, Commissioner Grady. Do we have a second?
A second.
A second for Commissioner Frierson. With that, staff, can you please take a vote?
Yes, sir. All right. So we have a motion for approval of case 24-016MA. A yes vote is in support of the motion for approval. Those in favor, Grady,
Aye.
Serks,
Nay.
Durant,
Hey.
Metz,
Aye.
Duffy,
Nay.
Johnson, Frierson,
Aye.
Yonke.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, commissioners. That goes as a approval recommendation to County Council, and they will have their meeting on June 25th. For our meeting today, that is the end of section 4B, the map amendments. We move to item number 5, which is other items. Commissioners, staff, are there any other items to discuss today?
I guess from a staff standpoint, one of the things that we pointed out was doing a potential tour of the Olympia community. So we've managed to secure a vehicle. I will just send out a couple of dates to you. It won't be for next week, so it'll be following that week. Just to see, some times and dates that y'all may be available for the tour.
Thank you, staff. This rolls into my item number 6, chairman report. Just thank you again, commissioners, for everything you're doing here. I appreciate the hard work from all of you. I did put out a Google spreadsheet to help track our dates of availability for the summer so that we can get this tour on the calendar or some comp plan workshops as well. And towards the end of the summer, hopefully a planning commissioner training retreat, which I've always found to be very beneficial. So please, if you have any IT issues with that, let me know. It should be as easy as clicking a link and filling in a spreadsheet. It's something I sent out last year for us to do as well. This summer, looking ahead, we have a regular meeting next month, and then August we usually have off to go alongside of county council, if I'm correct.
That is correct.
Okay. And that's it from my chairman's report. We'll go back to Mr. Price for the planning director's report, number 7.
All right, and you will see on page 41 is a report of county council's actions from their May zoning public hearing agenda. And that would be it for the planning director's report.
Thank you, staff. Item number 8, adjournment. Like to make a motion of adjournment. Do I have a second? All right. With that, we'll do a vote of hands, right? Mr. Pricey, all the hands?
Yes, it's unanimous.
Thank you, sir. We are adjourned.